Pioneers by Jacob Weinberg. Jacob Weinberg was my grandfather, and I was only a tiny tot when he passed away. But I remember his joyful spirit, his energy, his smile. I remember him sitting behind a baby grand piano with wire-rimmed glasses. This opera was written in 1924 in Jerusalem over a period of 4 months, over the summer. And I'm so thrilled and delighted that we have the opportunity to bring this music back to life tonight on a beautiful summer evening in New York City, Monday, August 20th, 2012, 88 years after it was composed. There are no existing recordings of this opera, but tonight we will videotape it, and we will try to preserve this beautiful music that he created, this legacy. I'd like to introduce our wonderful performers tonight. Starting from stage left, we have our musical director and accompanist, Cynthia Hiltz. Assisting Cynthia is Ratso Harris. He will turn the pages. Our wonderful performers, we have our soprano, Karen Lane. Our mezzo, Adi Sheratsky. Our tenor, Daniel Neer. And our baritone, Asa Fratkin. And I'm Ellen Weinberg. My stage name is Ellen Orchid. I have two sisters, Janice and Nora Weinberg, who could not be here tonight. They live out of town, but they send their regards. And the three of us are the only grandchildren of Jacob Weinberg. Jacob and Teresa Weinberg had one son, Walter, who was my father. And when he passed away in June 2008, I started to look into Jacob's music as a way of keeping the family's legacy alive. And I found a treasure trove of music. And this is just the tip of the iceberg tonight, but I'm thrilled that you took the time to come out tonight and share it with us. And I thank you all so much for coming tonight. Now, this opera was written in 1924, and it is very quaint and idealistic, and it is about a time when Palestine was a territory in the Middle East that was being settled as a homeland for the Jews that were trying to escape persecution from Europe and other parts all over the world. And the title, The Pioneers, or in Hebrew you'd say Hehalutz, refers to these settlers that came to Israel to settle the land, to work the soil, to irrigate the land. They lived on work farms called kibbutzes. And it was a rigorous life and it was a joyful life because they had a strong sense of a mission of creating a homeland. This area was occupied by Arabs as well, and the Jews and Arabs lived in harmony at this time. And this piece reflects it because Jacob wrote not only traditional Jewish melodies, folk melodies, and religious tunes, but he also incorporated some Arabic themes. One of the songs that you heard tonight is from the Quran, based on a verse in the Quran, verse number 97. That's called the Arabian Song. He also includes a Yemenite tune. He was a student of music. And he actually, I've been reading about him, he actually wandered through villages and listened to the songs being sung and transposed it because they didn't have tape recorders then. And he included it in this opera to represent the different groups that were occupying this area. It's an opera written in 3 acts, and the full piece takes more than 3 hours. And there's never been an actual production of this with sets, costumes, props. There've always been these concert versions. There was one done in April in Jerusalem, April 1925. There was one done in Berlin in a synagogue in the 1930s. There was another concert version done at the city center. We all know and love the city center. At that time it was called Mecca Temple. And then it was done in Carnegie Hall in 1946 and again in 1949. And they had a full orchestra and a full chorus and the principal singers and a piano, but no sets, no costumes. At that performance, in 1949, they had dancers. There's a lot of dances in this opera, but tonight we're going to do the highlights of Acts 1, 2, and 3. We have an hour, and I want to thank Van Fisher for including us in his program for the Strawberry Festival. It is a reading. It's informal. but I hope you enjoyed the music. It's classical music, and Jacob Weinberg tried to bring Jewish folk melodies, as I said, into his classical music, to preserve them and make music that was distinctly Jewish in its tonality or atonality. You will hear some very familiar melodies. In one of the songs that we're going to be doing tonight, you will hear the Jewish national anthem, Hatikva. That melody will be played. And as we've been in rehearsal for about the last 2 months or so, I've asked the performers what they think of the music, and they've all said they think it's beautiful. They note that it's very joyful. There's a real spirit of creativity and optimism. And apparently my grandfather was very fond of key changes. There are a lot of key changes and 30-second notes, and there's a great variety of music within this one opera. One of the pieces we're including was done in the original opera, but was done in one of the concert versions. And to be true to his spirit, he added one of these songs into the concert version, so we've done that as well. So moving right along, the opera consists of 3 acts. We're going to start with Act 1. And in Act 1, we start out in Europe, in Poland, a little Jewish village. In this story of the opera, you meet all the characters that live in the village. There's the matchmaker, there's the merchant, there's the people that live in the village. There's a beautiful ingenue named Leah, and a romantic leading man named Zev. Leah's parents want her to marry the merchant. Very little has changed, as you can see. The matchmaker has problems with his profession because he has to stretch the truth sometimes. He has to lie outright sometimes to make matches. Very little has changed, right, since 1924. In Act 1, we're going to do, just the highlights of Act 1, we're going to do 5 songs. The first one is called Good Sabbath. The opera begins on Sabbath, and the people in the town celebrate the Sabbath. And the next song is the aria sung by Chaim the matchmaker. I've nicknamed it the lying song, because it's what he has to do to survive. And then Zev, our leading man, sings the Yemenite song, which is an authentic Arabian tune. Then Leah, our beautiful ingenue, sings an aria, which is derived from the Song of Songs, a very idealistic, beautiful aria about a young woman longing for her ideal love. Again, very little has changed. And the finale to Act 1, people have suffered enough in terms of persecution and pogroms, and they're ready to leave their village in Poland and go to Palestine, which is a promised land, an ideal, a place where they'll be safe, where they'll be able to continue to practice their religion in complete peace and harmony. So we will now proceed to the highlights of Act 1.